But in the meantime, still on education, Ghana's basic education subsector has the largest infrastructure deficit with over 1 million desks shortage and over 5,000 schools under trees, sheds and dilapidated structures. Pupils and tutors are adopting improper sitting postures, which is not only dangerous to their health, but also a drawback to teaching and learning.
Regional and district disaggregation of DEX data reveals how profound the challenge is in some parts of Ghana. While the national DEX shortage is 40%, all the 6 regions in the northern parts of Ghana, Savannah, Northern, Northeast, Upper West, Upper East, and Bono East, and OT regions had ratios above the national rate. The Gushegu municipality in the northern region is one of the hardest hit with over 60% deficit. Both teachers and school children are worried.
For the furniture side, it's very poor. We don't have furniture at all. Look at the whole school. About 768 children with only 40 dual desks in good condition. So it affects our teaching and learning.
The Municipal Director of Education is concerned and admits the situation is affecting enrollment.
In fact, it is very, very bad situation when we are talking about furniture situation in Gushegu. Some schools, if you go, they have about 10 desks in a school. Meanwhile, they have population of 30 students or 50 people in the class. But with 10, some you go in the classroom, they are virtually none. You see students or people sitting on the ground writing. So the situation is bad.
A journey to Kintampo North municipality in the Bono East region reveals an even dire situation. Most school children have been compelled to buy their own table and chair, which cost not less than 200 cedis.
Some are fortunate to have the desks that has been provided by the government, and those parents who are a bit well-to-do, they provide for their kids. But look at people like this.
We don't have at all. So anytime they are coming, they have to buy the furniture. It's not that the furniture is there, maybe they are not enough, and they are to buy and add. It is not there at all.
Sylvester Opoku is the Municipal Director of Education.
With the deficit, I cannot single out any one particular school that is having the deficit. Almost all the schools have the same problem. All that I want to say is that in our schools, we don't have enough desks for the children.
Recent data from the Education Ministry reveals, as of 2021, 596,949 KG pupils, 1,308,479 primary pupils, and 30,425,465 junior high school pupils did not have seating and writing places, bringing the total to 2,330,893, representing 40% of basic school pupils. Allocations from the GETFund, spanning between 56 and 201 million cedis, have been inadequate, as it only serves 30% of the infrastructure gap. Following the distribution of over 13,000 desks to basic schools by GETFund, the Gushegu municipality received 180 dual desks, with 90 each supplied to the lower and upper primary levels respectively. Though President Akufo-Addo, in his latest State of the Nation's address in February, noted that a lot of resources has gone into improving education infrastructure in the country, a lot more commitments would have to be made to fully address this challenge. Until then, children in most basic schools in deprived communities will continue to suffer the consequences. Christopher Mwako, TV3 News, Gushegu.
Let's speak to Kofi Asari, Executive Director of the Africa Education Watch. Kofi, thank you so much for your time. The issue of infrastructure deficit is something we've been talking about for a very long time. Should we now turn towards uncapping the GETFund?
Well, good evening to your cherished audience. It's not just a simple issue of uncapping the GETFund. We at Eduwatch are concerned that the debt situation in public basic schools is not getting better. By 2021, about 1 million desks were needed, to meet the recommended seating arrangement or seating norms by the GES. But the data we are getting from the ground suggests that the situation is not getting better, it's actually getting worse. According to the Ministry of Education, in a presentation to Parliament, 2 months ago, it indicated that the ministry supplied 50,000 desks in 2023. And if 50,000 desks is what the ministry could provide, then it means that it will take us, more than 50 years to ensure that desks are available in our basic schools because of the gap. We have a gap of 1 million, and 50,000 a year. That 50,000 a year, if you look at the number of desks that got destroyed in that year alone, not to talk about the new enrollment in basic schools between 2021 and last year. And so I think it's an issue of reprioritizing, the deployment of education resources. If we uncap GETFund with this same idea that basic education will survive, it won't solve the problem, even though GETFund will be uncapped. And so the first thing we need to do is to reprioritize the disbursement, the allocation and disbursement of education fund. Allocation first, because last year's GETFund, 15 million was allocated for furniture in basic schools. By the end of last year, about 9 million was about 6 million had been released, which means that more than 9 million cedis wasn't released by the Ministry of Finance. Why? And that has been the trend, that you can hardly find more than half of GETFund being released within the financial year. And so we must begin to reprioritize basic education and reposition public funds to prioritize basic education. Other than that, if we hope that some magic will happen and then some for that Christmas will bring desks and basic amenities required in our basic schools to solve the problem, it will never happen. We have to change our approach to basic education financing.
We still have about 5,000 schools under trees, sheds, and dilapidated structures. How long do you think it will take us to eradicate these?
Well, so far as we are not doing anything significant, it can take forever. We undertook to eliminate those schools under trees by next year. The plan was to build 1,200 every year. We are in year 4. And so far, we've built about 50. So if you do the maths, it will take us obviously more than 100 years to eliminate the schools under trees if we continue at this pace. I don't want to read a projection about how long it will take us, because it is actually unacceptable to even imagine that we will continue at this pace. We must change our orientation towards basic education. We must change our psyche towards basic education at the public level and begin to see basic education as the foundation of everything we are building at the secondary and tertiary level. Beyond that, I don't think anything else can save basic education from the current neglect that it is witnessing. And so as we enter into the political season, we'll be calling on political parties, especially the leading ones, to reprioritize their support of basic education. They should reconceptualize the whole of education, and then begin to see basic education as the best way to ensure equitable access in secondary and tertiary education.
Kofi, thank you so much for your time. And Kofi Asare is